The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us for this year's 2013 World Business and Executive Coach Pre-Summit Series. Before I do anything, just like previous years, if you can do me a huge favor and let me know that you can hear me loud and clear by posting in the chat box on the right-hand side of your control panel, that would be great. If you cannot, okay, there we go. Awesome. Thank you so much. Loud and clear, terrific sound. Wow. A flurry of questions. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so that's good. Everyone can hear me. Super. Now, thank you for all joining us. It's very exciting. We've been working on this project for the past 10 months. At the moment, we have around 7,000 registrations, which is up from last year's. I think we had 5,000 at this stage, 4,500. So very exciting to have you all joining us. We have coaches from over 100 countries joining us already. It says the stats. Today's session, in fact, is sold out. We actually had to close registrations off yesterday about noontime Pacific because I realized that we'd had about 1,400 registrations and I'm relying on 40% of people not to show up today so that you can all get in, which is about normal for one of these sessions. So today's kickoff session is all about guerrilla marketing for coaches. We've got a fantastic session with Andrew. Before we go, I just want to go through some quick housekeeping with you all. Now, for the next 4 weeks, you have the opportunity to do something very powerful for your coaching business. And obviously, by showing up today, this is the first step. You're not going to get a load of pitching for us. We know nothing to buy or sell during this 4 weeks other than a ticket to our full event, which is a decision that you can make based on your experiences with the pre-summit. The full summit itself is exactly the same as the pre-summit, except there's more sessions, there's more people. There's people like John Maxwell will be joining us as well for the full summit. And the sessions are extended from 30 minutes to between 1 and 2 hours. Now, as I said, there's absolutely no pitches in any of these sessions, and there's going to be typically around 1 to 3 sessions a day in the pre-summit, and they're held between Monday to Friday. Now, as a coach, you obviously understand the value of engagement, so I encourage you to thoroughly participate in these sessions. They're only going to be a maximum of 30 minutes, and we may go over a little bit for some questions, but the actual content will not go past 30 minutes. So I encourage you just to turn off all your distractions. What you're going to learn is from some of the world's leading experts for our industry on a range of subjects that are very prevalent and relevant to your position as a business and executive coach. So you have the opportunity to get some real deep learning and a great opportunity that presents itself. Now, we're going to be inviting you to ask questions throughout. There's going to be a bit of time at the end where we may have some question time. What I'd ask you to do is to jump onto Facebook. So it's facebook.com/WBECS. And that is actually where you're going to be able to answer your questions. So also ask your questions. If you are not on Facebook, don't worry. You can simply ask your questions in the chat box. We won't have a huge amount of time for questions. We'll have more time in the actual full summit sessions. But I do encourage you to please jump on Facebook and join that if you haven't already. And that's where you can ask the questions. Recordings are going to be made of all the pre-summit sessions, as with the full summit sessions, and they'll be made available to those who buy a ticket for our full event, so you can review that. We'll also be making transcriptions of all the sessions in the full summit. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to today's first speaker, Andrew Knightley. Andrew is the founder and director of the Center for Executive Coaching, which is a leading training program for executive and leadership coaches known for its hard-hitting, practical approach to getting results and improving performance. He also runs a successful coaching and consulting practice with an emphasis on leaders in technology, professional services, healthcare, franchising, and emerging growth companies. He's the author of 3 guerrilla marketing books, along with The Way to Coach Executives and Elegant Leadership. Simple strategies, remarkable results. He received his MBA from Harvard Business School, and he gained a distinction for that. And now Andrew lives with his wife, Elena, and 3 children in Sarasota, Florida. And it's my great pleasure to hand over to Andrew. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Ben. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Great. I'm going to assume so. Well, thank you all for taking the time. In the next 30 minutes, I want to walk you through exactly what you see here on the screen, 6 steps to $1 million practice. I'm not on Facebook currently in terms of questions, but do always feel free to reach out to me at the email address you see here and my cell phone. I've noticed that 3 of you have already called me on the cell phone while I've been waiting for this presentation to start. So obviously wait till afterwards and leave a voicemail, but the email is the best way, and I'm very accessible and happy to answer any questions you have about this presentation. Let me set the tone before we move forward. 2 things. First, whether you are looking to attract your first client, whether you have clients and are looking to hit the 6-figure mark, whether you're trying to break through to the 7-figure mark or the 8-figure mark, I just want you to know that this presentation is for you. Business development is a discipline, and there's certain principles that if you follow them, you'll be successful. But regardless of where you are right now in developing your practice, I just want to welcome you and let you know that this is inclusive for you. Okay. Number 2, the tagline you see here, 6 steps to $1 million practice, is not a gimmick. I am dead serious about having you achieve that, having anyone who aspires to achieve it. I know that you could see this and say, okay, this is just a cheesy marketing thing. I want to make it very clear that that is not the case at all. I do it. I work with colleagues who do it. I've been part of a firm that started with 4 guys around a coffee table that grew to the point where it sold for $80 million. I've been part of another that was on the Inc. 500 list, grew to about $10 or $12 million. And so I am dead serious about this being possible for anybody on this call. It's not a fluffy gimmick. Okay, I know there are coaching surveys out there that show a bell curve of coaches not earning a heck of a lot. I think one of the reasons for that is that myself and my colleagues are too busy to take those surveys, number 1. And number 2, we see ourselves as data points where we fall on a bell curve is in our control, and we don't really look at the overall bell curve or the median, and I hope that's true for you as well. Okay, so I just want to set the tone there. This is inclusive. Wherever you are in your practice, I think you're going to get some value here. I hope you will. That's my intent. And number 2, I'm dead serious about building a 7 or even 8-figure practice. Okay, before we start, what I'd like to do is take you through 6 quick assessments so that you can get a sense of where your own practice stands. I know that as coaches, we assess our clients. We've probably been assessed to death, and here's another one. But this one's important. This is about assessing your business development, and I'll share with you my results right after you've taken this. So let's go through 6 quick assessments. Okay, number 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself as follows. You can document a 5 to 10 times return on your fees or better based on the tangible and or intangible results you get for your clients. Okay, so we know tangible results could be your client gets a promotion, makes more money, the revenue of the company increases, employee turnover decreases, productivity increases. Intangible can be equally important, if not more so. It can be invaluable. Security, confidence, hassles and headaches gone, conflicts resolved. So take a moment and make sure you can document that. Where do you rate yourself? Do you have a way to document at least a 5 to 10 times return on your fees? Just a hint here, I will not accept an engagement unless upfront the client and I have agreed that there's the opportunity for at least a 5 to 10 times return on my fees to the client. So that's assessment number 1. Assessment number 2, on a scale of 1 to 10, again, how much do you agree or disagree with this statement for yourself? You communicate your value in a way that shows a clear 5 to 10 times return on your fees. What good is doing it, per the previous assessment, if you aren't communicating it so that people are compelled by the value you can bring them? So rate yourself. Scale of 1 to 10. How well do you communicate your value and show a clear 5 to 10 times return on your fees before they even hire you? Okay. Number 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you agree with this statement? People in your target market know you as one of the go-to experts. That is, with credibility, and they have a willingness to promote you to others through references and referrals, and not as just another commodity service provider or commodity coach. The market is always right. So the question here is, what is the market saying about you? Do they know you as one of the go-to experts in your market? Okay, take a moment and rate yourself there. In fact, I was on a call yesterday with a major health system. One of my areas of practice is health systems, and they were looking for some coaching and some other services for their top 10 executives. And in one area, I was unable to provide some references, and they said, well, that's not credible enough. And so I'm bringing in other people on my team in order to create that credibility and be able to win this assignment. So rate yourself there. Let's move on to the next one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your toolkit? Specifically, you have a toolkit of complete solutions for clients that drive your clients from point A, that is where they are, to point B, which is where they want to go, well beyond asking good open-ended questions or applying the ICF core competencies. ICF is great. The core competencies, I think we'd all agree, are very important. They are necessary, but they are not sufficient for success in the market, for providing what your clients will call a complete, measurable solution. So rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. The classic example here is you don't want to have clients who say, coaching is an expensive waste of time, which is a real comment I heard from an executive before I was hired in, based on his experiences with previous coaches. He said all they did was ask me questions. They had no toolkit, no way to give me confidence. Okay, so rate yourself there. Next one, 2 more to go. This is assessment number 5. On a scale of 1 to 10, you have built, forgive me for a second. You have built leverage through products or people so that you are well on your way to having at least half of your revenue come in even when you are not spending time with clients. Okay, every coach, every professional hits a ceiling where you can't earn more money because you're trading your time for dollars. And I can tell you personally that in my career there was no greater joy than that moment where I had enough income coming from other sources, from people and products, so that I never needed another client again. That was probably the most amazing experience of my career, because now I come across to clients as not even close to needing to work with them. I come across as more valuable. I earn their respect. But even more importantly, I earn money even when I'm not with clients. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how well have you built leverage through products or people so that you're well on your way to having at least half of your revenue come in even when you're not spending time with clients? Next, final one, scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself? You're on track to build $1 million firm or practice, one that you can eventually sell and or use as a vehicle for wealth creation. This is the big question. Scale of 1 to 10. If you're assessing yourself honestly, how on track are you for building that $1 million firm or whatever your aspirations are? If it's multi-million dollars, if it's 100,000, tens of thousands, whatever works for you, whatever is acceptable to you. But you're on track. And for the sake of it, since this is a presentation about building $1 million practice, rate yourself on that as well. Okay? So let me share with you how I was when I first jumped into coaching. This is Andrew Neitlich's before and Andrew Neitlich now. When I first jumped into coaching, I actually didn't want to jump in at all. And here's what stopped me. I was scared to death of selling. I was so afraid of selling, in fact, so unsure what selling meant, that I was unable and unwilling to start a practice. I thought there was some magic formula or something that would make people buy from me if only I knew that magic formula. I had a scattered approach. I was unfocused, and prospective clients could tell once I finally got out there and started marketing myself. I used tactics that were uncomfortable for me to get visible, like networking events. Networking events to me are death. They work for many others, but they are uncomfortable for me. I promoted, instead of promoting solutions, I was promoting coaching. You know, I'm a coach, I can help you. I'm a consultant, I can help you. And that made me a commodity. Next, and I'll get into this shortly, I had what's called low pricing self-esteem. I did not charge what I was worth because I didn't know how to do it. And finally, what changed everything for me was a networking, not a referral meeting I had. One-on-one, I was having coffee with a woman who was referred to me as a well-connected introduction. And this is what she said to me. She said, Andrew, I get that you're smart, but I have no idea who you are or how to get you more introductions or business. I just don't know what you stand for as a coach. I cannot help you. That really hit me like a ton of bricks, and I committed to being successful because I had to feed my family. Okay, so here's what's happening now. For me now, selling is a set of natural conversations. I'm focused. I have a very focused set of target markets. I use tactics that work for me and that are comfortable for me. I offer solutions that have clear value to clients and are priced accordingly, certainly not by the hour, but based on value. I've developed effective ways to educate others about my value. I have a full practice. That means 3 days a week, by the way. If you're coaching 5 days a week, that's too much because you don't have time to build leverage through products and people. And what's most important is right now I'm in what I might call an accelerating upward spiral. There's 3 phases to any business. The first is kickstart, where you feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. That's where it feels like you're putting in 10 units of energy to get 1 unit back. And it's very painful. Getting your first client feels like that, but keep persevering because once you get there, the second phase is what's called momentum. That's like pushing that boulder on a plateau at the top of the mountain. And then eventually you can just push that boulder down, and that's what it feels like to have that accelerating upward spiral. It's like acceleration. So right now, because of all the work I put in and the discipline I've shown, people approach me for deals now. And that's exciting. That gives me the opportunity to license more of my intellectual capital, license what I do, develop other products, and continue upwards. So that's what I want for you. And that's what this presentation is about. But I thought I'd just give you my honest assessment of where I've been and where I am now so that we're on the same page. Okay, so you've done your assessment. I've done mine. So with that, let me take you through 6 steps to $1 million practice. I cannot cover all of them in this taster session, and there's a longer session that I'll be doing in June that I hope you sign up for, where I will take you through all of these for as long as it takes in a high-impact workshop. Okay, but for today, I'd rather focus in on a few things, specifically laying a solid strategic foundation. That's step 1. Step 2 is using low-cost, high-impact tactics to get clients. There's a ton of those, and I'll talk about those in the other session. 3, you have to know how to close engagements, and a lot of coaches don't. 4, you have to keep clients. I don't like keep clients for life. That's silly, but keep clients for a long, long time. My average client retention is 5.5 to 7 years, often because a lot of them retire. 5, build a firm to enjoy lasting wealth. And 6, create your $1 million business plan. Okay, so I'm going to take you through a few of these. First, laying a solid strategic foundation. Again, there's tons of content here. I just want to talk about 2 items, 2 elements. Choosing a profitable target market. There's a lot of myths and facts about that, a lot of frustration, a lot of stress, and how to develop a compelling marketing message. You see, lots of coaches go out there, as I did, and just say, hey, I'm Andrew Neitlich. You wouldn't say that, but that's what I said. I'm smart. I have high energy. I can help you. Let me coach you. And so I went out and tried to get visible before I had really honed my target market and my marketing message for that market. So my first step was handling these 2 things. Once I did, it became much, much easier to get clients. So let's talk about choosing a profitable target market. One of my favorite quotes about this subject is from Lily Tomlin, who said, I always wanted to be someone, but now I wish I was more specific. Okay, without a target market, if you think everyone is your customer, and by everyone, we're all business and executive coaches, even if that means the 14 million business owners in the United States, executives at Fortune 500 companies. In some ways, that's still too fuzzy. It means you're going to have much more expensive marketing. It's hard to reach specific people. You're going to have generic solutions. Even though we know we can help people across the board, your clients don't. They will react negatively to generic, superficial solutions. You have that illusion of unlimited prospects, but a tiny, if not negligible, conversion rate. It's hard to get word of mouth because people aren't hanging out together and talking about you because they're not in a target market. Hard to become the go-to expert, and specialists can do circles around you. I learned this lesson the hard way. And once I started with a focused target market, for me it was actually nonprofit strategy, board retreats, and coaching executive directors. Once I picked that, things became amazing for me. My first 2 clients, which I got from a seminar on strategic planning for executive directors, led to coaching clients, facilitated retreats, etc. And that quickly, I'd say within a year or 2, I could track half my clients to those first 2 clients I got from that seminar. And so why is that? With a focused target market, it's easier and less expensive to reach the people in the market. You can develop deeper solutions that are more valuable. You might have fewer prospects, but you're likely to have a much higher conversion rate. Word of mouth spreads because people talk about you to each other. You become the go-to expert, and your prices rise because your value rises as well. So here's the difference in what I teach and what I found. You don't have to spend 100% of your time and put all of your eggs in one basket with your target market. I like the 70-30 rule. That way you avoid stressing out. And here's how it works. 70% of what you do should be focused on a target market. 30% should be open to what you attract. So this works very well for me. I might say I'm going after, at one point after nonprofits, I said, you know, I live in Silicon Valley, which is where I lived at the time. I'm going after major technology companies. I'm going to be focused on that. So I started speaking there in places where executives from high-tech companies went, started writing, blogging, etc. Guess what happened? Most of them said no. Made it to the middle management level of some of the top companies, but never to the C-suite. But what happened was, by being visible, a number of CEOs of $10 to $50 million technology companies said, hey, I like what you're saying, Andrew. I'd like to talk more with you about coaching. So by being open with that 30%, I found my real niche, at least when it came to technology companies. The market is always right. The market will tell you. And so it's very important to focus, yes, but leave room to what you attract. Okay? So I think it's crucial that you choose a profitable target market, but also crucial to leave some time available to attract whoever comes your way. So that's part 1 of having a solid strategic foundation. Part 2 is having a compelling marketing message. Most coaches, if you go to most coaching websites, they all look the same, especially leadership coaching websites, executive coaching websites. And so what we've done is managed to commoditize ourselves. We've managed to become generic. You know, I'm a leadership coach. I have this many years of this. I have this ICF credential. You know, struggling with teams that don't work. Give me a call. We need a marketing message that has all of the elements of a really solid, irresistible message that gets your prospects to look up, take attention, and want to contact you for more. And so there's 2 columns here that you see on this slide. They're both very similar, but the beginning starts differently. So let me take you through them. I think you need each of these elements for a good, compelling marketing message. Let's start with the left column. I like to start with a problem that I define or describe in compelling emotional terms. You know, don't stop tolerating the hassles of, stop struggling with. A good movie starts this way. Any good movie starts with a character who has a problem. That's what draws us in. That's what gets us interested. In this case, this is what tells our target market that we empathize with their problems. It gets them interested because it's about them. You never want to start with the word I or we in terms of we as a firm. You want to start with them. And one of the best ways to do that is by talking about their problem, what it's costing them, and empathizing with their struggle. Next, you turn it around. You don't want to give them so much pain that they leave miserable. You say, it doesn't have to be this way. Imagine if it were this way, and you point to some benefits of what you offer, again, in both logical and emotional terms. And then you move to why your proprietary methodology or approach. So here's the benefits. Here's how I do it. I have a proprietary methodology, 3-step process. I call it this, and this is how it works. Why? Because 70% of people who hire a professional say that one of the top reasons they hire a professional is because they have a proprietary methodology. Nobody wants open-ended questions that never end. They want to know that you have an efficient, fast process to get results. So you move to that. Next, you have to answer the question, why you? Why are you the perfect person? What's your edge? And that's the classic USP, unlike others. Okay, we all have a superpower as coaches. It's really important. You know what your edge is. You have to know how to say, look, I'm not your usual coach. Unlike others, Here's where I've been. Here's who I've worked with. Here's examples of the results I've got. Here's credentials that I have that are unique. Here's what sets me apart. And then you have to back it up with proof. Why proof? Because people are more cynical, skeptical than ever before. They're not going to believe you if you can't back it up. So proof is testimonials, articles about you, LinkedIn recommendations, not those endorsements, but actual recommendations that people write, case studies again, all sorts of things. You see, I saw Oracle in the Wall Street Journal with their classic ad. 5 out of 5 companies of the top companies in this industry use Oracle. That sort of proof. And finally, perhaps most importantly, a low-risk call to action that's not a free consultation. Something like download this free report, take this free assessment. You just want them to agree to engage with you. J. Conrad Levinson calls this the consent funnel. You want to get them in the consent funnel so you can follow up with them over time and build your credibility, demonstrate value. In fact, what Jay says is you need not just a few positive interactions with them after this call to action, after collecting their contact information, you need many. In fact, he would say you need 27. You actually need 9 touches that are positive, but because of spam and how busy people are, that means you have to multiply that by 3. You need 27 because people are only going to see 1 out of 3. So to get to those 9 positive touches that show your value, whether it's a newsletter, invitation to a webinar, you need to really work hard at this to build that credibility. So that's one way to do it. The other is almost identical, except you can start with a benefit. You can say, I help X to get Y, where Y is a benefit. So I help healthcare executives who might be struggling with the new healthcare law to create a hospital that is profitable while also improving in quality of patient care and patient satisfaction. I do this with a 3-step process that blah, 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 blah. And then again, my edge, proof, low risk call to action. Okay, that's what a compelling marketing message needs to have, and I strongly encourage you to take a look at your marketing message. Here's a test you can do. Count the number of times on your homepage you use the word I or you use the word we, and compare that to the number of times you use the word you. If you're not using the word you at least 3 times more than you're using the word I or we, your marketing message stinks. Okay, we call that the I-U ratio. You 3 times, I 1 time. Okay, so that's the marketing message. Let me give you an example from Dr. Seuss, greatest writer of all time. He knows how to write a marketing message. This is from the book The Sneetches. I hope you've seen it. It's one of his lesser-known books. Here you have 2 types of Sneetches, one with bellies and one without, and of course the ones without bellies are jealous and upset. So an entrepreneur has a solution. Listen to how he markets himself. Every single piece of the compelling message is there. Then one day, it seems, while the plain-bellied Sneetches were just moping along alone on the beaches, sitting there, wishing their bellies had stars, up zipped a stranger in the strangest of cars. See that? That's unique branding right there. My friends, he announced in a voice clear and keen, my name is Sylvester McMonkey McBean. I've heard of your troubles. I've heard you're unhappy. But I can fix that. I'm the fix-it-up chappie. Now listen, his UI ratio is off here, but we'll give him some liberties. I've come here to help you. I have what you need. My prices are low, and I work with great speed, and my work is 100% guaranteed. So there it is, though. At least he empathizes with the problem. He has the solution. He has proof through the form of a guarantee. Then quickly, Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very peculiar machine. Then he said, you want stars like a star-bellied Sneetch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each. Just hand me your money and climb on aboard. Okay? So I really like this as a marketing message. Again, too much use of the word I, but it takes you through all the steps. To the question on the screen, a touch means literally that. How often you reach out to your clients or your prospects with some piece of valuable information, a newsletter, an invitation to a webinar, an offer to download some sort of free report. That's what a touch is. And again, you need 9 of them over time. So that's marketing messages. The other piece I just want to cover here under strategy is pricing. In the longer session in June, I'll cover this, but here's what I've noticed about coaches. If you do a graph of the value of the coach, the competence of the coach, whatever you want to call it, and the price that the coach charges, it's all over the map. It looks like a scatter plot. And so my question for you is, do you have low pricing self-esteem? Do you know how to ask questions to your clients, your prospects, to uncover their situation, their problems, and then price accordingly. You need to price so you're giving them a great return on your fees, but at the same time, many coaches price, it just scares me how ridiculously low some coaches price. How do I know this? Because when I first started out, that's what I did. My first coaching clients paid me almost nothing. And then gradually, they told me how much value they got. They referred me to others, and I just started getting more confidence, learning how to ask the right questions. I stopped pricing on an hourly or daily basis, started pricing based on engagement and based on value. So there's some specific conversations you need to know in order to price appropriately, in order to price in the upper right-hand corner of this box. So if you have the right toolkit, you're providing value, the right skills to provide value, you have to price accordingly. And it actually saddens me to see so many coaches that just don't have this ability. What does it take? It takes asking great questions during the selling process to say, what's this worth for you? What's it costing you now? Both emotionally, logically, personally, organizationally, to the point where you have a clear and compelling picture of the value you can provide. And you price like a project, not like a therapist, not per hour. Okay, so we can get into that more in the later session. Okay, time is running short. I just want to show you how to build a firm to enjoy lasting wealth. The secret is you need to think bigger than a coach. You need to think like a firm builder. Okay, and there's a couple of components to that. The metaphor I want to give you is Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is actually the secret to building a firm worth millions, or in the case of Walt Disney, billions. Okay, with one cartoon, Steamboat Willie, Walt Disney started his empire so that he has events, movies, theme parks, licensed products. My goodness, Princess products alone were multi-billion dollars. Timeshares, cruise ships, TV networks. As coaches, we can think the same way. The question is, what is Mickey Mouse to a coach? And what are these outer circles? What are theme parks to us? Well, to a coach, the inner circle is a framework, some piece of intellectual property. I'll give you examples in a second, that set you apart and make you unique and show that you can solve the client's problem. The outer circle, these are all sorts of other solutions in addition to coaching that you can offer, like books, seminars, memberships, group coaching, leadership circles, licensed products again. In fact, I'm blessed to be engaged in a licensing deal right now that seems to have a good multi-million-dollar potential. Why? Because I have some frameworks. I have intellectual property that's more valuable than my spending time with clients. That's the Mickey Mouse. So let's look at some classic examples. Patrick Lencioni on the left, you must recognize his 5 dysfunctions of a team. He's brilliant at creating frameworks that he can turn into coaching solutions, consulting solutions, licensing, $50,000 to $100,000 speaking engagements. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, did the same. The Boston Consulting Group started with their cash cow framework that you see in the lower left-hand corner. Just a simple framework to answer the question, should I sell this company or keep it in my conglomerate? The DuPont return on investment model. All of these are frameworks. The Sandler submarine, storming, norming, forming, performing, you name it. I have the Castle model for business growth. I have a number of frameworks that we teach in the Center for Executive Coaching. These are our Mickey Mouse. These are the things that can turn what we do into millions, because once we have these, we become unique and stand above other coaches. We become an expert, not just a coach. We charge more. We own an asset that makes our firm valuable and creates the potential for a stream of revenues, and we can turn our framework into products, seminars, speaking gigs, group coaching. You've already heard it. And most importantly, that's how we build leverage so that we make money even while we're not with clients, or better, if we are with clients, we double down on our money. And I would even add to that and say, in a way, it makes you less accessible to others and therefore more valuable. That is, you can say to your clients, listen, why don't you start with this assessment I've created? Or why don't you start by reading my book? And so suddenly you're charging based on access to you. A book you might charge $20 for because it's just a book. They don't get to talk to you. An info product you might charge a couple $100s for and throw in some email support. A certification program you might charge thousands of dollars for. A licensing deal will bring you ongoing royalties. That's what leverage is about. That's what it takes to build $1 million practice. Okay, at a certain point, At least in my revenues, I think I reached about 400,000. That's what I was able to reach trading my time for dollars. It was only through building leverage, people and products, that I was able to really break through the seven-figure mark. Same with others that I know. Whether you build a firm through people or you build it through products and solutions that don't rely on you to deliver, or both. That's what it takes. Okay, so give some thought to your action plan. Here's what I want you to think about in conclusion. Okay, I want you to claim your power as a coach. Everyone has a superpower. Everyone has something unique, some unique talent that sets you apart as a coach. So what's yours? What is that thing that brands you? What is that thing that sets you apart, that's memorable, that's valuable, that's a solution? What's the value of this to others, and how can you communicate that value so that people take notice? Remember that formula for a compelling marketing message. How can you use it to become one of the go-to professionals in your marketplace? That is, how do you educate other people? How do you make low-risk offers so that you capture people's contact information and reach out to them over time? That was the touches. How do you get those 29 touches? How do you be so visible that everybody thinks of you first when they have a problem in their market? Next, how can you turn that knowledge, that expertise into a framework and then turn it into additional products or into things that you can license or offer through other people so that you have leverage? And let me just say this, why hold back? This is not a dress rehearsal. It's so interesting to me to see coaches who are so passionate about leadership in their clients and yet do not show leadership in their own coaching practice. It's sad, actually. So if you're holding back, stop it. You can do this. With the internet the way it is, there is no better opportunity in history to even work from a home office, as I'm doing right now, spend your time the way you want to, and still create a seven-figure income. Okay, so that's what I have for today. I hope you found it valuable. And I could take a few questions. Ben, if you can let me know what the questions are, if there are any. And again, you can email me at andrewneitlich@yahoo.com. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you found at least one insight that made it worth your time today.
Thank you very much for that, Andrew. Really appreciate it. I know it's a tough gig to cram everything into 30 minutes that we have for you. Got a couple of people have said about the legalities in terms of IP. What do you base your IP upon, and how do you develop that framework within your company?
Well, sure. I mean, intellectual property is original when it's your property, and there are many. The simplest way to protect it is simply by copywriting it, and then it's a beautiful thing to have intellectual property like that, because copywriting it is very simple. There's the thing called the poor man or poor woman's copyright, where you just use the copyright symbol. You put it there. You don't have to send it. You could send it to the National Library of Congress in the United States, but it's basically as simple as that. Remember, you cannot copyright an idea. How to influence is an idea, but your specific take on influence, something that's uniquely yours, that you're not copying word for word or even close from somebody else, can be your intellectual property. And so, that's the simple solution. For instance, I thought nobody was ever going to come up with something other than storming, forming, norming, performing. I thought that was it. That was the be-all and end-all for teams. And then sure enough, a guy named Katzenbach writes a wonderful book. He's out of McKinsey about the wisdom of teams that I thought was brilliant. And then Lencioni comes up with his own framework of the 5 dysfunctions of a team. What we do in our seminars at the Center for Executive Coaching is we give people a bunch of Post-it notes and a problem to solve, a framework to create, and they just mess around with those Post-it notes until they come up with a unique framework that nobody else has. And it's brilliant. Within an hour and a half, they realize that they can create something unique and proprietary to them. So this is something that is very, very doable.
Okay, got another question for you.
And let me just say one more thing about that. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go on. Say one more thing, and then we'll go on to the next question.
Well, yeah, there's no magic to it, right? I think we see a best-selling book. We see the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and we say, well, that's ridiculous. I'll never come up with that. That's brilliant. But the fact of the matter is you can claim your power today. You don't need a publisher. You don't need any of the things that we traditionally needed in the past. All you need is your creativity. If you're working with clients, you have unique insights into how the human mind works, into effectiveness that nobody else has. Similarly, you can do research. I mean, I wrote one book with a former national NBA player. We interviewed 24 African Americans who were extremely successful and asked them about the challenges they faced. They basically wrote the book for us. So we had 24 interviews that we transcribed. He and I synthesized the results into a conclusion, and that's unique intellectual property.
Brilliant. And that actually ties in a little bit with the next question, which is going back to your superpower. How do you get clear on what your superpower is? So your USP, I guess that is.
I would ask 5 clients. That's simple as that, to say to them, what sets me apart from other professionals you've worked with? What are, if you were going to pick one thing that sets me apart, what would you say it is? That's the most powerful thing. I truly believe the market is always right. The market will tell you what your superpower is. And you might be surprised. I thought my superpower was, my understanding of strategy at one point. It turns out that a lot of my clients said, no, that's not true. Your superpower is you talk straight. You tell it like it is. Nobody else in this company does it. So you're extremely valuable to us because you're objective. You tell it like it is. You don't pull punches. So who knew? So that's one of my talents that I never would have guessed if my clients hadn't told me.
Okay. We are way over. We're a little bit over, so I'm going to have to call this session to an end, guys. I know a lot of you do still have questions, but there's lots more sessions, and hopefully throughout that you'll have your questions answered. And also you've got Andrew's session, the full summit itself as well. Andrew, thank you very much for that session. That was excellent. Exactly what I was hoping for the kickoff session for this year. So thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, in just over 2 hours time, we have our second session, which is with Brian Underhill. And he's going to be talking about what executives want in a coach. And Brian is exceptionally well experienced in this area. He works with thousands of coaches all around the world. So look forward to that session. So once again, thank you very much, Andrew. And I will very much look forward to your session that we have in June. So hey guys, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will look forward to you joining us in just over 2 hours for the second session. Okay, take care everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.